Your Gear podcast. The Know Your Gear podcast is brought to you by Patreon members, channel members, and viewers who like and subscribe. Thank you for making this possible.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Know Your Gear podcast episode. What are we at? 436? 436. I hope everybody had a fantastic week and is ready for some guitar talk, some talk. We're going to talk about some guitars probably. Anyways, a couple things. We got a couple quick announcements. They're super fast. Basically, just want to thank the moderators every week. They're the blue names with the blue wrenches. They're here to help facilitate the chat and everything else and get me links and send me questions and you name it. So I just want to thank them. And thank them for taking care of us. Also, I want to thank the Patreon members and the channel members, and you can see their names in green if they're a channel member, and they support the channel for 436 episodes, so we don't have to do ad reads, and we can do ad-free when it's live. So if you're watching this live, there's no ads during the live part. Okay, we have a lot to cover. We have some gear of the week, which I think will be fun. Real quick, probably because somebody's going to ask, and we'll probably have to answer it 20 times. This is my new bike. I have a new bike here. This is not a bike. It's a scooter. It's a new scooter. I got a scooter. I got a new scooter. So short version, here's how it works. Last week after the show, I timestamped everything. I uploaded the audio. I did all the stuff that we're supposed to do, and then decided to go for a walk. That's all. I said, hey, you want to go for a walk? And the wife said yes, and we went for a walk. And we were walking, and I had a flashlight, which is even weirder, but it was a small one. And long story short, I thought I saw asphalt and concrete seamed up to each other. And so I was walking and I stepped what I thought was on asphalt. What it was instead was, it was dark. It was like a dark dirt, but it was about that far down. That's it. About 2-3 inches. That's it. Lower. And long story short, why is it? It's too late. The story's already long. Long story short, I got a new shoe. So I got a new boot and a new scooter. So it's not I don't want to make you jealous. There's way better ways to get some new shoes and a scooter. But anyways, new shoe, new scooter. So that's it. Other than having to sit in the emergency room for a little while, that sucked. But other than that, I'm good. So just want to tell you, today when we do the gear of the week, I'll be in a slightly different positioning of the cameras so I can put my right leg up because hold the guitar is a little different. For my balancing, I got to be balanced. This boot's kind of heavy. Okay, so anyways, besides the new shoes and a new bike, what do we got to talk about? We have a lot to talk about. I got flooded with a lot of emails. In fact, they started happening last Friday on the show. So let me tell you what happened last Friday on the show before the walk and the new bike, or new scooter and new boot. I was getting lots of chimes on my phone, and I was sometimes when I get that many, I stop and check it on the show, but I kind of saw what it was, and then I was like, oh, I don't want to talk about it on the live show last week. So I'm going to tell you what happened, and then we'll to answer people's questions that had the questions for me. So what I got told by several friends on Friday was that Paul Reed Smith Guitars had done some layoffs. I'm going to just tell you what I heard, and I'm going to tell you what I'm going to, I got an official response from PRS, okay? So basically what I was told was, and this is all not hypothetical, sure, kind of be hypothetical. It's just what I was told by friends, okay? They said that there was layoffs and there were 72 employees laid off. There's nothing to confirm how many employees were laid off, and to give you an idea, that could be about 10% of their staff, right? Maybe 10 to 15%. What I will tell you is that I reached out on the official Paul Reed Smith channels. I did not go through my normal channels. As you guys know, I can reach out to people, but I kind of wanted to just get an official statement of either the accuracy or inaccuracy of that. And so I reached out through the through the official channels. Hold on a second. And they gave me an official response. So let me read the official response, and then we'll talk about what this is. Okay, ready? Go back one more. I'm sorry. You know, I should have just had it queued up, but Why do I not have it? Oh, here it is. Nope, I still don't have it. Okay, maybe I don't have their official response. I would have swore I got an official response sent to me, and now I don't have it. And I didn't think this was going to be so hard because literally I got an email response to them, but it's not in my... Okay, here it is. I found it. I'm sorry. So a little suspense. Okay, so this official response from Palmer Smith Guitars. It says, hello, Philip. We made a limited workforce adjustment to align with our current business needs. These decisions are never made lightly. We provided support resources to those impacted and remain focused on our team. The staffing changes should in no way affect or impact our ability to serve our customers with distinction. Out of respect for everyone involved, we're not sharing further details. And it's basically the public relations team. So that's the official response from Palmer Smith Guitars. So, okay, so the reason why I think this I got a lot of emails sent to me was I'm just going to tell you what I feel like. I think it's because on the heels of, obviously, within the last 30 days, we had G&L Guitars furlough their employees, then lay off their employees, then close, then say they're going to get bought, and then they kind of went dark, and we don't know what's going on with G&L Guitars. As far as we know, they're closed forever. It could be possible. Who knows? What I want to tell you about this, because again, that's what I know, the official response. I did not reach out to anyone from PRS. I don't think they would tell me anything, and I don't really actually want to know. I'll tell you what I think, and I think I'm probably going to be pretty close to accurate on this. What I think's happening now is if you pay attention to after the guitar boom, right after the guitar boom, there was layoffs from Fender. If you guys remember, Fender laid off employees. That was like in 2023. It sounds about right. Might have been 2024. We can look it up if anyone wants to look up the official when that happened. But it was really when all of a sudden we saw the sales just start coming back down again. Okay, so, and what I want to tell you is that this is also what happened before when there was a slowdown in the guitar industry back in 2008. And what happened was we saw Fender reduce force, and then Gibson, at that time, Gibson then reduced their employees, and then PRS followed suit probably about a year or two later. Again, seems to be the same kind of logic again. About a year or two later, again, PRS is kind of adjusting. And so I think we've been talking about it on this channel for months, if not years, about the fact that we're adjusting back down to the normal markets. Whether the markets get worse, I mean, that's always a discussion to have at another time, but we definitely are not having, so somebody said 2022. So think of this, the Fender did it in 2022. So PRS was able to hold back for 3 years. And that makes sense because, again, they're a smaller company for sure, and they can try to kind of keep their employees, going along. I think that you're going to see an adjustment. What I notice when I look out there, when I say look out there, in stores, first of all, and when I go online on Reverb and places, you see a glut of guitars all of a sudden, and that's kind of what we talked about. There's just a lot, and this is what has to happen. They have to slow down how many guitars they make. Now, before you guys think this total doom and gloom, keep in mind that when stuff like this happens, although it's horrible for the employees, and my heart always goes out to them because, again, we're all just the workers out here, so it's really who we get affected by it. That's but what I will tell you is when they do these reductions, one of the things they're doing is reducing how many guitars they build. Therefore, you're not going to see the guitars kind of rock bottom price out again, and I know that sounds silly, okay, but I'm just going to give you some thoughts that goes unintuitively to most guitar players that are out there that like to buy guitars like me. A lot of times people get excited when the prices fall in the guitar industry, right? Hey, I could pick up a Strat for half of what they were going for. That's a great news for you. However, at some point, what happens is guitar players live in a special little bubble of the world where the things they buy still have value. And that belief in that value makes us be a little bit more risky with our wallets. Like a perfect example, you could buy yourself a $2,500 TV or a $1,000 TV or a $500 TV, and it's worth nothing. It doesn't even matter which one I just said. Whichever one I just said is worth nothing as soon as you buy it. So when you make that purchase, you're like, okay, I want to make sure I'm happy because that's my money. It's harder and it's gone. But when you buy a $500 or $1,000 or $2,500 guitar, everyone knows Worst case, it's worth half. So yeah, you're losing money, but you don't lose the whole thing. You can always get some of it back if you change your mind later. And so when the prices fall really bad, which we've seen this before, you see it actually starts like a panic and the people don't buy as much. The guitar players don't want to buy as much. And I don't see that right now. The prices seem pretty firm. And this is how companies adjust to keep those prices firm, which will keep you buying. Like I said, it seems totally unintuitive, right? You're like, wait a minute, if the prices stay high, I don't want to buy high, Phil. I'm not going to buy. But I'm telling you guys, because I've been through this, when the prices get too low, then no one buys. It's just everybody gets freaked out. And plus, then no one can sell to buy, and that's a bigger problem. No one wants to buy a guitar for $1,000 and then say, okay, it's only worth $200. How am I going to? And you put that $200 towards another $1,000 guitar. It just doesn't work that way. So, ZZ says he's seeing tons of drops. I am too. In fact, I've told you this before. I'm almost like getting annoyed on Reverb. Anytime I look, I'm not making this up. Look, while I was booting up the show talking to you guys, I just got a message from Reverb about a deal. Let's see. I'm just curious. Let's see what the deal is that somebody sent me. I got an offer, and it's not even I'm not even looking for anything. So okay. Offers 2. Okay. I don't know what that is. I just got an offer for 2 things. So you guys know. There you go. 2 things I just got an offer for. Okay, one was a little older. So this one was because I can tell by how many hours I have left. So J Rocket Audio. I was looking at the PXO pedal. By the way, they're $349. I was looking at one and I saw one for $299. I was like, oh, $299. Maybe I'll buy that pedal. And then before I could even click on that deal, which I think was Gear Junkies, which is Sweetwater's reverb store. Before I could even click on $299, I was like, oh, maybe I'll do it for $299. I got a offer for $279 from Pitbull Audio. And then I'm pretty sure I got another offer too. And then I just happened to graze my eyes, I wish I was kidding, I'm not, on an Ernie Ball Music Man Majesty 7 in this crazy, I was really just looking at the color. Let me show you the color. It's pretty crazy. I was just looking at the color. Oh, now it's not showing me. Here it is. Boy, why does everything take 10? There you go. For those that can see. Look at that. So I was looking at the color, go, oh, that's crazy. And I just got an offer, and wow. Okay, so this guitar is crazy expensive. But, so the guitar is $5,700. I'm really curious now. What's this offer? Because this offer is $47,000. So $1,000 off. So basically almost 20%, right? 15%, I guess. So 15%. So anyway, so like I said, we know that there's deals to be had out there. If Joe, the reason I tell you all of that is, it's really easy, especially for YouTubers and anybody, has a platform or a podcast to go, oh, doom and gloom, because it's going to get me clicks. Hey, the world's crashing. But I don't think this is. I think that PRS is being very forthcoming with saying this is a realignment. I think a lot of companies have been attritioning out some employees in real time for the last couple of years as well. I see it. There's just going to be there's less market share out there. And then this is the last thing. This is a speech. I wish somebody would have told me. I wish somebody would have told me this when I had my business in the 2008 recession. It's a great analogy, so I'm going to give it to you. When you give a kid $10 and tell him go into the corner store and get candy, he's going to come out with 10 candy bars. Okay? This is important. For those that are watching this, that are businesses right now, I want you to think about this. I want you all to really hear this. If you didn't next time you give that kid only $5, he'll go in and he'll get only 5 candy bars this time, right? So half as many candy bars. And then the next time, if you give that kid $1, he'll go in and pick his favorite candy bar. He'll only get one, and it'll be his favorite. But here's what's guaranteed. In all 3 of those scenarios, he bought his favorite candy bar. And so the point of this story is, in a boom market, everyone gets to sell a candy bar. In a softer market, half of us get to sell a candy bar. And as long as you make the best candy bar, you're always going to win. So I hope people take that to heart when it comes to when the markets slow down, when it comes to businesses and stuff. And we're going to segue this into the Well, you know what? Let me hold off on the next section. Let's talk about what you guys want to say. Anything in response to that? Let's see if you guys say anything on that. Any concerns? Any thoughts? And looks like you said everybody's basically saying the same things. We're super happy. We can't wait to buy more guitars this weekend. I'm just kidding. I bought a guitar. Ironically, I did buy a guitar, but I got to tell you, the guitar was $269. So it was not the super expensive guitar purchase, for sure. But I'm hoping to have the guitar for next Friday's Guitar of the Week. I'm really excited about it for the Halloween edition. So anyone want to guess if it's a Halloween themed guitar? Because it is. All right. Mark wants to know, hey, Phil, did you take advantage of the 50% off the JHS Legends of Fuzz? I did not. So if you guys didn't hear, I guess JHS did a 50% off sale on this Fuzz pedal, and they sold like 3,000 in like an hour or something like that, 2 hours. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. No, I wasn't in the market for a Fuzz. I've been buying pedals lately, but not obviously I was looking at a PXO, but I'm not a Fuzz pedal. Wasn't on my thing. Well, let's see. What else do we got? All right. Oh, I don't know that. Somebody just asked a question. I just don't know it. All right, let's grab some next subjects and questions. So this is the nope. Go to the next one. Okay, here we go. It says, Phil, ever play a reissue Supro guitar? Bought one a few months ago, and it's pretty cool. I have played some of the Supro reissue guitars. Not officially like as a deep dive or anything like that, but I picked them up and played them. I always like their the guitars for sure. I like their amps. I like Supro. I think they're a cool company. So I'm a fan, but not as a formal deep dive. Maybe it'd be nice to add that to the deep dive series. Do you know that Floyd Rose are now being made in North Carolina? Yes, I do. I was going to ask you if you know why the Floyd Rose website has most of its products sold out and not being replenished. So yes, Floyd Rose is now making a bridge in the U.S., in North Carolina. And if they're out of stock, here is my guess. My guess is they're out of stock because they had to tool that facility up and get those going. And I'm sure there was a time where they were just not making any high-end Floyd Roses. So as you guys know, Floyd Rose is really like, there was the inexpensive models like the, the Floyd Rose Special. And then they make a slightly better one, a Korean-made one that has better posts and it's just a little bit higher quality called the Floyd Rose 1000. And then, of course, everybody kind of knew the German Schaller. The Schaller Floyd Roses were the best bridges. What happened is during COVID, during that time, something happened and there was a lot of scuttlebutt about the quality of the Schaller bridges not being very good or having issues, all kinds of stuff. I heard thousands of rumors. Really, none of those rumors matter. Here's why. Because it ended in a result with Floyd Rose retooling and building Floyd Roses back in the United States again. So that's kind of what happened. So my guess is doing that, they probably had a period where they went, because remember, you gotta understand, we're not the only ones just buying a Floyd Rose. The manufacturers are buying these Floyd Roses, and they need them too, and they're waiting too. So I would imagine it's going to be tough. This is really common when a parts company is back ordered, especially something like a high-end bridge like that, because you know they're not making hundreds of thousands. I don't think so. I wouldn't think they were making hundreds of thousands, but they could be. So they just got to get. I'm sure they got to get that all dialed in. That is my guess, but it's I'll find out if it's not. It says, Phil, hey, have you used deoxit to clean nickel hardware or pickup covers as a tarnish or is oxidation? I have not. AI says it's safe, but I'm too scared to try. Well, how could you not trust AI? What could go wrong? What could go wrong? Just kidding. I'm making jokes. I've never tried it as a cleaner, so you know. So I don't know. I'll tell you what I'll do. I have to look. I will look. I'm pretty sure I have some nickel hardware. I know I have chrome hardware, but I got to find some nickel hardware. This weekend, I will find a piece of nickel hardware. I will clean it with deoxit, and I will report back next week. I'll have to remember to do that because I was going to write it down, but I don't have a thing, and obviously I can't get up right now. Oh, I do. Here it is. Okay, I'm sorry. I do have it. I was going to say, I have to have this. Sorry, guys. Unfortunately, if I don't write this down, it's not going to be done. Deoxit. clean. Hardware. Anyway, so I'll do the hardware clean, which is great because I'll do it this weekend for you, and then I'll show you on Friday what happened to it. So, and which deoxycan I used. So if that helps, we'll give that a try. That should be fun. It says, Rob says, hey, Phil, my new to me 60s origin Jazzmaster has threaded barrel saddles. It seems like it could break the thinner strings. Is this not a worry? I don't think it's a worry. I don't know if I would absolutely worry about that. No. Nope. First of all, the string should go in between those threading pieces. And the only thing is sometimes, over time, they get little barbs and stuff in the metal that can cut in the string. But here's the easy part. If you're not snapping strings on a regular, then you don't have any issues anyways. But there's no issues particularly with that bridge. But especially if you're not having any issues, then don't worry about it, because it's, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of logic. It's not acting up, and you'll know when it will start acting up. Nathan says, hey, Phil, love the show. On an old podcast, you mentioned having several Northern Lights pickups, but not in match sets. Any chance I could buy one of the HSS Delos for the HSS Delo build? Would it pair well with the beryllium single coils? Yeah, I believe it would. I would believe so. The answer is yes. I will get that. Again, we'll get that situated for you, Nathaniel. What I would do is, can you email the Ask Know Your Gear podcast? The email contact address. It's what is it? Ask Know Your Gear. Is it just Ask Know Your Gear at gmail.com? It's Ask Know Your Gear at gmail.com. If you send that message, that will come to Sean and I, and we will get you all squared away on that. I do have a new video, and there'll be some Northern Lights in that video too, so you'll kind of see what I'm doing with those too. Because I've been putting some in some other guitars as I do. Shadow Animal says, hey, I just received an album of the original music made by the PRS Villa, a 60s Silvertone amp. Wait, what? Villa? I just released an album of original music. Why am I reading this wrong? I apologize, Shadow Animal. It says of original music that was made with a PRS Vela, a 60 Silvertone amp, and my Fractal Audio. Thanks for the gear advice over the years. It feels great to use my gear to create. That's my absolute favorite, is to actually play music. I play music a lot. I record a lot. I don't, it's funny. It's like, I'm one of those people I record all the time. I was recording a lot today. I just record, I come up with ideas, I record it and do it. I just enjoy it. I don't really need to perform in front of people or play anything in front of people, but I do need this feeling of playing. I need to play something. So I'm glad you made a record. That's exciting. Cyber says, new guitar day, 59 M2N LP VOS R9. That's a lot of letters, man. This is flipped 2 Back to the Future Epiphones for 4K profit. Went to GC, and the R9 on the clearance was $4,200. Win. Yeah. I would imagine a lot of those Back to the Futures, if you guys didn't know, they released the $20,000 Back to the Futures. So they did 88 of the $20,000 Gibson Back to the Future guitars, and then I believe they did 1,985 of the Epiphones. I don't remember what they were going for, but I mean, this is kind of the new strategy. Is companies kind of want stuff to be bought and flipped, and if you don't believe that, there's a great video. I'll try and find it and link it on YouTube, explaining how many industries, not just the guitar industry, how many manufacturers are really focused now on making unobtainable product that people buy and flip for more money. And then what happens is it causes like all this frenzy buying. And we see it a lot now. And all I can tell you guys is, hey, it's your money, do what you want with it. But I never do that stuff. I don't flip, or I don't buy that stuff either for that reason. Yeah, Susan says the Gibson one sold out immediately for $20,000. And see, what people don't understand is like, when people go, who buys these guitars? Well, obviously there's 88 rich people on the planet Earth, so they can buy a guitar. But a lot of people buy it to flip it. It's built-in market. It's there again, kind of like the Epiphones, bought to literally flip. So it's just a thing now. It's happened to every element out there, so of course it's going to happen to guitars as well. It's not my most exciting subject to talk about. But what I will tell you is, I look at all that stuff as more like memorabilia and less like actual guitars. And Nathaniel says, hey, he said his super chat for the new boot beer fund. I've had 2 of those new boots and scooters. I feel for you. You know what's great is, man, is the scooter is fantastic. I was throttling around the house. It's not electric or anything. I was just kind of pushing with my leg, and I was having a good old time. And I told Shauna, I go, I kind of feel bad because she has to help me get my coffee and do all this stuff, for the first couple of days. And I said, and here I am. I'm like having a ball. I'm like scooting around the house in my cool new bike. It was kind of fun. So let's see. So this is a question that says, hey, does new relic guitars make non-musicians think non-musicians? So he's talking about just fans or consumers of music, but not the actual guitar players and musicians. Says, wow, that guitarist must be great. Like seeing Stevie Ray Vaughan in his Strat with the decades of worth playing. I don't think so. What it definitely is people, the way they dress. Look, the way you dress on stage, the way you look on stage, and the type of guitar you play does have an effect. It has a visual effect of what people think they're going to see. Okay, so I mean, think about this. Just put it in perspective. You walk into a place, a bar or somewhere. You're walking into a club, and there's a band on the stage, and they're all wearing leopard spandex, and they have long hair, and they have fluorescent pink t-shirts on, or whatever spandex shirts on, and they all have like a BC Rich Warlock in fluorescent pink. And then they start playing a blues set, you'd be like, that's kind of weird, right? So there is a little bit of, you kind of align that. Guitars do have that effect. One thing I can tell you to kind of give that credibility is over the years, millions and millions of demo views that I've done, which is why I kind of learned this to be true, is I will sometimes play the same riffs through tons of videos. I'll just take this thing that I play, and I'll play it through almost the same amp, and I'll play it through a different looking guitar, and the comments will change about that riff. In other words, like if I take a riff that I play and I play it on that Gibson Les Paul, and then I play the same riff on that sparkly Charvel, somebody will say, man, that was a really cool 80s riff, Phil. And then somebody will go, wow, I loved your blues riff, Phil. And I always think it's funny. I'm like, wow, it's kind of funny. I played the same tone, same amp, but just visuals. So over the time, you kind of learn that visuals are a big part of how people consume things. It's a big deal. Happy Good Things says, hey, fixing and modding rather than buying. I bought a soldering iron. That's awesome. Good for you. Replacing single coil pickups for the first time. It was okay, but coil split humbucker is hard. Sure. But yes, modding instruments and getting a soldering iron look, tools are great investments now, especially since guitars, think about this. The thing that makes a guitar great and the thing that makes a guitar pretty good in a factory sense is not a whole lot of end of it effort. In other words, you can take a guitar that's pretty good and make it amazing by just finishing some of the things that they just didn't do in the factory to get the guitar done and get out that way. That's a good segue to talk about the Cort video. So if you guys didn't see, I did the Cort factory video, and I released that. It got 500,000 views in basically the first 48 hours. A little bit over 40 hours, like 50 hours, it got 500,000 views, which is pretty crazy. So it's very likely it will hit 501,000 views. I had to go for the joke. Anyways, so it's over 500,000 views. So I want to thank you guys for that. That was really cool. And what was the best part ever was and I just want to tell you, this is kind of cool because this has never really happened like this. Cort only requested 3 minor changes to the original video that was presented to them. And I'm going to tell you what the changes are. So, because it's not going to matter, because I'm not going to tell you, you'll understand. they asked me to remove the visuals from two of the buildings that distinguished what two manufacturers were there, because those manufacturers did not give us a sign off to show their guitars. So that's it. So that's it. You didn't see, it's not the buildings you didn't see and the stuff. You just didn't see the signage. So you didn't see the brands names. And so I removed two brands names from the video. And in one scene that guitar was being worked on, they wanted me to only show the back of the guitar, not the front. And I don't even know why. I assumed it could be because it's a brand, but it also could have been because it's not out yet. So they basically unrestricted let me put out everything I wanted to publish, which was very cool. So I just want to thank you guys for that. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It was the video I was hoping we would get to see, is just how does it work? It all started, I'll tell you a funny thing and then I'll move on, but I got to tell you how this all started in my head was I did an interview with Ola Strandberg. And if you saw the video, I used a cut from that podcast, and he was saying why he uses Cort guitars and to build his guitars. And then what happened was Cort reached out to me after that interview and said, can we take a clip from your podcast and put it in our 30, they sent me a cup, 30-year at PT Cort, their 30th anniversary. They sent me a nice little gift, right? This is a while back. And they said, hey, can we use the clip of Ola Strandberg talking about us for a montage video for our 30th anniversary? And I said, sure. And then in passing, in just a quick communication with them, I said, oh, I'd love to come out to the factory. I said, I hear it's really big. And they said, we do about 1.2 to 1.3 million guitars a year. And I just couldn't unhear that. I would go to sleep at night. I'm not exaggerating. And I would I would lie in bed and think, how do you make 1 million guitars? And just to give you a reference, that's like 900,000 more guitars than Fender's factory. Okay, so I was like, that's it, right? Like, I'm the biggest factory I've ever been to until PT Cort was the Fender factory. I'm like, that's insane. So anyways, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And all I wanted to know is one thing, and I solved that, and I was able to share that with you, which is this. I just want to know how you make 1 million guitars. To give you reference, a company like Paul Reed Smith Guitars, I don't know their official numbers, but I'll give you a guess, and it's going to get you in the same. I'm gonna say this. This is my guess, and I'm gonna round it up. I'm gonna put it as high as I think they make. I'm talking about USA made guitars in the PRS facility. Here is my guess: 36,000. That's my guess. About 3,000 a month. That's my guess. We could even go a little higher than that. So here's why I tell you, and I want to tell you where my guess came from. In 2009, when I was in their factory, they were shooting for 1,400, 1,500 guitars a month. So a month. And that was, 2009 was before S2 guitars, so they didn't have that production line in there. So I'm just kind of like, oh, well, maybe they doubled or tripled that. If they tripled that, let's go. You understand what I'm saying? Like, PRS is not making like 100,000 guitars a year out of that factory here in the US. And so same thing, when you look at Gibson, it's pretty big, but it ain't no million guitars, and same with Fender, it's not. So it was really crazy. So I wanted to know how you make 1 million guitars. And if you watch that video, I think I know why. I know how they do it. It's not a factory that makes 1 million guitars. It's 10 factories making guitars, and 10 factories. So think about this. It just happens to be they're all on the same, the campus. So it'd be like saying, okay, what if Gibson, Fender, Heritage, PRS, Rickenbacker, and Martin, just to name a few, were all in the same compound, right? And then ironically owned by the same company, but also in the same compound. That's kind of how it looks. So, and then Brian says 1 million seems like a lot. It is a lot. In fact, I asked them a question, and they don't have the official answer, but I asked them when I was there, I said, is this the largest guitar factory in the world? I said, I imagine the Chinese factories have to be bigger. And they said, no. They said that collectively, Chinese manufacturers are making a lot more guitars, but not in any one designated spot. As far as they know, they might be the biggest manufacturer of one brand of company like Cort, but still pretty crazy. That's a pretty crazy thing. Okay, let's go to the next subject. In fact, I have this cool little list here to talk about things. Oh, you know what? I'm trying to drink from the wrong cup now. All right. This is the perfect time for Gear of the Week. I also got another bunch of emails. And for some reason, I couldn't tell what was going on. Everybody's like, hey, Phil, what do you think about pedals? What do you think about the death of the pedals? So apparently the death of the pedals. And I'm like, what do you mean the death of the pedals? And apparently a lot of people out there talking about how pedal sales are dead and pedals are over. And now that Modeler's out, pedals are over and it's the end of pedals, which I thought was really funny because I've been buying pedals again for the first time in years. I've been actively out there buying pedals. I probably bought about 6 or 7 pedals in the last, 4 months, which is a lot for me. I probably only buy 2 or 3 pedals a year if I'm rounding up sometimes. And so pedals. And the argument is that I heard and read was because of modeling technology, the pedal sales are dropping and that we're not going to buy pedals anymore. And so I thought that was really interesting, especially since I do use modeling, or I use a Kemper, which is profiling, and I do use real tube amps, but I still use pedals, and I use a pedal all the time. In fact, very rarely do I not have a pedal in some kind of process of what I'm doing. I almost need them. And so I think what I think is confusing to everybody, again, I'm going to use the same kind of speech again. I think during the boom, there was a lot of pedal companies that sold a lot of pedals that probably didn't deserve it. Okay. I mean, this is how the reality of it. Let's be very clear. These pedals are very okay. And you can know, and I don't have to tell you who they are because you can walk in music stores and see them. They're boat anchors now. No one will buy them used at even a fraction of the price. No one wants them. During the any kind of like any boom, everybody's buying up everything. And so everybody gets to sell their pedals. But I think really what's going to happen now is you're going to notice that all of a sudden we're going to be a little bit more particular about what we buy. I am, and I'm looking at certain pedals. And then of course, right now you also have the fact that sales are down. So when I'm buying pedals, they're dropping prices like crazy. So kind of like, I'm like, I don't want to pay full retail if there's deals out there to be had. It's I work hard for my money too. So today I'm going to use Gear of the Week, and I'm going to show you a pedal, some pedals that I use. So I'm going to show you one of my favorite pedals. I thought this would be fun. I like to do this stuff for every once in a while. So I put together a pedal board. This is probably the pedals I use the most if I'm not using a boost pedal. So I have a ton of boost pedals. I have like a Taurus pedal, Taurus version 3. I have the big pedal. It's the big boost pedal. What's it called? I forget now. It doesn't matter. Tons of boost pedals, right? But anyways, my point, and I'll think of it in a second. It's going to kill me. So what I want to do is just play. We'll do Guitar of the Week, but it's Gear of the Week. I have to move my chair just because I have to balance my foot on this amp. I'll be using the Beat Buddy 2 for a little fun. We'll have a guitar. The guitar I'm going to use is a PRS. I thought, hey, let's since PRS didn't have the best week, let's talk about how beautiful this PRS is. This is my PRS Special. This is probably, in my opinion, one of my best looking PRSs. Now, of course, the one Nathan for me is pretty amazing, but I really like this blue gray. I don't know why. Every time I see it, it just makes me kind of think of, like I said, almost makes me think of the Know Your Gear logo, the blue outline on the guitar. This is a great guitar. It's definitely one of my favorite PRSs I've ever owned. And thank you, by the way, it's the enhancifier pedal. I love it, but it's big. So I usually use it as like, I'm really deliberate. Today I'm not using any boost. So, okay. So anyways, this pedal. So what are we going to run through? Well, here's what's funny. We're going to be running through my pedal board into my Morgan PR12. It's basically a Princeton style amp. And we're going to play a little something for you. Let me show you the pedals first. Let's go to the side cam. Here's the pedals. So from right to left, I guess, that's how we're looking at it. So I start there into my Taurus servo pedal, and like I said, I swap that out usually for the enhancifier, or I have the Taurus 3 pedal, or sometimes, very rarely, I use an exotic a clean boost. Then I go to my Raya pedal. That is a clone. As you can see, it's on. So I'm going to tell you what's on. That's on. And then I use the J Rocket Audio. This is the Melody. This is the Mark Lettieri pedal. I absolutely love this pedal, and this is the pedal I want to talk about today. The Mark Lettieri Melody pedal, and there's one that Steve Steven has too that's really good. This pedal is one of my all-time favorite overdrives, and I've been using it for the last like 2 years, and it's on the regular, right? So in other words, like 2 years, and I'm probably using it more than any other overdrive. So I thought let's share that today, since let's talk about pedals. Then of course I have my Lawrence Petros 87. That's my higher gain pedal, even though I use it in the lower gain setting. That then goes into my new rotary ensemble pedal, which is my R2, and then my TR2 tremolo pedal. You can tell that's kind of a standard pedal. For delay, I usually use my NuX, but I've been using my Acid Reflux again for a while because I really like it. It's an analog delay. And the Hall of Fame 2 is there because I have no idea. I actually just wanted to see if it sounded any good. So I pulled it out the other night and stuck it on the pedal board. But that's not a pedal you usually would see, but that I usually play. It's more of a, I just have it. So what does this stuff sound like? So here's what, again, let's be clear what you're seeing. You're only going to be hearing, it's not seeing, you're going to hear the Taurus Acid Reflux delay, and you're going to hear the melody pedal, which is an overdrive pedal, and then I have basically the Klon clone that I'm using as a boost. So what does that sound like? Let's go ahead and switch cameras. Well, first let me move. I got to kind of shift over, slide, so I can put my foot up. I'll switch you to this camera. Look at that, I'm over here now. Whee. By the way, you can see my scooter right there. Okay, so anyways, let's go ahead. I'll play you a little something. I have to remember what I'm playing. Okay, I think I got it. All right, let's hear what this sounds like. First, I'll let you hear the amp, the pedals. In fact, I'll show you the pedals while you hear the pedals. Here's the pedals. Okay, so here's the Beat Buddy 2. We'll just try to get through something. Here we go. Okay, so let's do this. Let's switch over to me. There's me. This is me. So here's the guitar. It's funny. I feel bad because I was supposed to move my chair. I told you I got this stupid foot. I was supposed to move the chair to this spot. So let's see. If I go here, because then, that was the whole point, was so you could see me play. So I could do it. Why am I having having trouble with this. Stop that. See it like this. Here we go. But I didn't move the chair to the right spot. So anyways, so that is those two pedals. So that's the Mark Lettieri Melody pedal by J Rocket Audio that I absolutely love that pedal. Especially now, you can pick them up. If you're looking at one, you want to do what I said. Go on, well, first of all, Sweetwater. Sorry, I gotta move all this stuff. Sweetwater, Guitar Center, all these guys are running deals right now, so definitely look for that stuff. But if you're on Reverb, man, like I said, I guess just watch something, hit the watch, the follow thing, and you'll get a deal emailed to you in a minute and get that pedal. And so, if you're curious, if you're curious about the Steve Stevens one, I can do an A/B of those. I think the Steve Stevens actually sounds it's bigger sounding with the mid-range. The only reason I like the Mark Lettieri a little bit more is even though the Mark Lettieri is a little more scooped mids, so I use the Klon to push the mids back into it. And it's great for me because then I can use the Klon as kind of like a boost into that. So there you go. So there's your Paul Reed Smith special and those pedals. And that's your gear of the week. So lots of pedals. Like I said, I don't think pedals are going to die, guys. I'm sorry. I just don't think it. I think as long as there's cool new stuff and as long as I feel I always... my biggest problem is, and I think about this, I'll use something like the Amplified Nation, which is an amazing amp, and it's thousands and thousands of dollars. And if I A/B it, I really believe personally, I think it sounds better than just these pedals. But these pedals sound so close. They just sound so damn close so I can just play through them. So, yeah. So you can just take those pedals and run it through your Boss Katana and there you go. Why am I having... Did I lose a screen? I did. I apologize. I don't know how that happened. Here we go. As I lost the screen that tells me where the questions are. Okay. And I think... Here we go. This is from the Joe Wentz Project. Hey, Joe, what's up? He's got a great channel. We talked about him a couple weeks ago. Let's see what his question is. He says, hey, thank you so much for the shout out of my channel the other week. My friend, I don't know how you came across it. Oh, I can tell you that. But I'm very thankful that you did. I hope you have a wonderful day and God bless, my friend. So the Joe Wentz Project, how I came across his channel was... I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to tell you. I know it's a bad idea. All right, here's why. Joe, I watched your channel. Let me just tell you why I watched it, not how I found it, okay? I will tell you, but just let me get this out first. I watched your channel because you were doing a store. You and Ralph were going through stores, and I was looking for anything in my feeds that wasn't, politics or negative or something, so I'm just looking for guitar content all the time, like everybody else. And I consume so much guitar content sometimes that I don't have anything else to consume other than the negative stuff that's out there that's just constantly in your feeds. And so I was like, oh, I watched this a video. And then it was you and Ralph going through a store, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then I watched you go through another store, and I just kept watching you go through the store tours. And I thought this really cool, especially since you live mostly like on the eastern side of the country, and there's a lot more stores, next to each other. Here in the West Coast, the stores are really spread out. So it was really cool to see so many stores in a short period of time. Like, in other words, you've hit a lot of stores. You might not feel that way, but I was like one after another, watching these videos. Okay. This is why I didn't want to tell you this, because not you, Joe. I just don't want to tell anybody else, but you're going to know this. When people mention you in videos, when they mention your name, when you get to a certain, I don't want to say size of channel, but let's just say if you're talking about me in your videos, YouTube tells me, like, it just says, hey, you've been mentioned in this video. And And it gives you this, I have this thing and it gives you like data and it says how many times you're mentioned a month, and which is crazy. I don't even want to say that because I think, first of all, you probably wouldn't believe me, but two, it's just so weird to say how many times I'm mentioned in a video a month on YouTube. Let me put it this way. It's way more than I get in views in a month. So if you know what my monthly views are, just understand I'm mentioned more than I get monthly views, which is just crazy to comprehend. And so why I'm telling you that, Joe, is you mentioned me somewhere in a stream, in a live stream. You were talking about me. So of course the system says, hey, you were mentioned in a video. Sometimes you can be tagged in videos and I'll get notified of that too. But just the AI now just kind of says, hey, you were mentioned. Somebody said you, because remember, everything gets, your words get, whatever, digitized. And so now I guess the AI can go, hey, it says Philip McKnight in this video, and it doesn't tell me where. So I tend to go and watch a bunch of people who mention me in videos because I'm like, oh, what are they talking about? And so, I feel like 99% of the time, and I believe Joe was doing the same thing, they're just mentioning or referencing something that was said here on the podcast or a video I did, probably like the Cort video. Like, hey, did you see Phil McKnight's Cort video? And that's all they really say about me. I'm like, oh, okay. but they're usually giving me some kind of shout out or credit for the reference. So what? Anyways, Joe, you mentioned me, so then I watched what you said, and I was like, oh, okay. And then understand, now that I've clicked on it, you're in my feed. So the next video that came in my feed was the store. I'm trying to remember which one because I've watched so many now of the store videos. I want to say the first one I watched. What was the first store? I can tell you. Here, you know what? I can guess. But I'll just tell you for sure, so you don't have to. So we don't have to keep it in suspense. And then everybody else can check out that one too. Okay, let me go to. I got to go to my YouTube account because it's in my histories. I don't know why I just put an S at the histories. Histories. Okay, so the very first one I ever watched was scrolling. I apologize. So it's been a while because I've watched a bunch since then. Oh, interesting. It was Lonely Hound Guitar Company in Greenville, South Carolina. And then interesting enough, Joe, you ended up becoming a discussion. By the way, the one I enjoyed the next was the Revisiting Cornerstone Christian and Music Supply in Easley, South Carolina. And then I'm just going to read off all the ones I did. And then I watched Visiting Cornerstone Christian and Music Supply in East Easley, South Carolina. And then I can keep going. I watched a ton of these. Just one after another. I'm scrolling now. And the next one was Visiting Audio Centro in Greenville, South Carolina. And then I watched What Happened to Midtown Music. And then I watched Visiting Midtown Music in Easley, South Carolina. And then I watched Visiting Picknell Music in Greenville, South Carolina. And then I watched Visiting Guitar Center in Charleston, South Carolina. And then I'm scrolling through, so going through. And then I watched, this could get boring if I just keep scrolling, just telling. Oh, then I watched Visiting East Side Guitars and Drums in Greenville, South Carolina. And that looked like where I chilled out for a minute. And then I started watching other stuff. Okay. I enjoyed them very much. I did watch, it's not in my history list, but I know for a fact I watched the one where you guys were not allowed to film the one in Music and Arts, and I thought that was funny because, Joe, here's what I'm going to tell you, because I know something that's funny is, and why we were discussing this. You had said somewhere in your content, something to the effect of like, if you get a little bigger, if your channel gets a little bigger, like stores will invite you. And, I have bad news. That's not how any of this works. I have 440,000 subs, 200 million views, whatever the hell that is. I don't even know anymore. All the things. I got a little plaque thing, whatever there. Look at that. It's like a little stupid thing that they send you email. It's not stupid, but you understand. I got a thing. None of that matters. I still have to explain to companies every single day, what is YouTube? What do I do on YouTube? Why do I want to come visit them? Why would they let me visit them? I deal with it all the time. It took me Marty Schwartz, his 3 million subscriber channel. Me and Marty couldn't convince Guitar Center to let us film in their store. Couldn't do it. Finally we did. I filmed in a Guitar Center, but I'm just saying, I'm telling you that not to discourage you. I just want you to know it's a long, hard road and you'll be doing it forever. And look, I got told by a bunch of people, friends of mine, like, hey, it's amazing. You went to Indonesia, you went to Cort. That was so cool that they invited you. I'm like, look, it was great that they let me go. They didn't invite me. It was years of just constant pushing and trying to figure out the way to get that to work. It's still not an easy task. No one's knocking down my door every day going, hey, we'd love you to do content for us. I'm still fighting for content every day. So I tell you that, and all the people that are watching that, is that not to discourage you at all. You need to understand that it doesn't get handed to you ever at any point. The only thing that happens that's important is if you can keep going and you can figure out the thing that gets your channel doing well, you can start driving enough revenue that makes it easier for you to afford things. To give you an example, just to give you an idea, the Cortec video has 500,000 views, and the PRS-SE video has 135,000 views. Those two videos, right? That's pretty impressive. And Cortec even helped, and so did PRS. PRS and Cortec helped with the costs of me going there, right? So in other words, they obviously didn't pay me, but they helped with the costs of going to Indonesia and back. We shared costs in this. And I don't know if I'm even break even. I mean, I'm happy I made the video and I think it's amazing. And I'm feel blessed that I can break even almost. And if I do, and when I say break even, I just want to be clear. We're not even talking about the fact that it was 7 days of travel, working, walking, sleeping, you name it. I'm not even trying to pay myself for my time. I'm just trying to take what I paid for rental cars or hotels or I don't even know what to explain this. I don't know if I didn't tell anybody this stuff. To people that travel a lot, I didn't know about this, but I had 8-hour layovers in airports, and so I paid like $80 for the day to go stay in have a nice seat and be able to have food and stuff. So, anyways, I'm just telling you, you're doing a great job. Keep pushing, and I know it's not going to get easier, but it will start to make more sense. That's my 2 cents on that. And thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. And I'll keep watching. So, and you guys check out his channel, not because it's a great channel. That's a good reason, but just watch those store tours. They're freaking great. I don't think you understand how hard it is. If you watch his channel, you'll see what he's saying. He's absolutely telling you the truth, that it's in 2025, you're still talking to music stores. You're still talking to manufacturers and saying, I would like to do free marketing for you. And they're like, why? Not why, like they don't trust you. Like, why would we do this? Why would we want you to do this? Give you free marketing. I don't know why anybody would give you free marketing. I don't know what's wrong with us. I'm not going to say we're dumb. We just love what we do. Happy Good Thing says, hey, fixing and modding. Oh, I already read this. So let's go to a next subject then. Here's the next subject. The next subject is Steve wants to know any thoughts on the new Korn K7 signature guitars. So no, not really. I think it was a good time to re-up, and change the Korn guitars. So the band Korn came out with some new 7-string type instruments, and it makes sense to me. I mean, it was good timing. I saw the video of them releasing them. I have an RG 7620 that I call basically my Korn style guitar, because that's what I play if I play Korn style, because I love the band Korn. I'll tell you a funny story. Let's do a funny story. So this is actually a really crazy story. So the band Korn is interesting. If you guys don't know the band Korn, it's spelled with a K and it's got a reverse R. There you go. For those that don't listen to that style of music. The only thing you need to know about Korn is that I've seen Korn live more than any other band ever in any period. I've seen the most live. And for all the weirdest reasons. I'm a Korn fan. I'm going to say that. I'm a fan of the band for sure, but that's not why I've seen them more than anybody else. The first time I ever saw Korn, their first album hadn't even really hit yet. And I'm going to, so I had a friend. This is in high school. So we're in high school or around that time, right? I don't know if it's high school or right after high school, but around that time. So my friend who's into death metal, he's into bands like Morbid Angel. He's into like, he's just into like Slayer, right? Sepultura. He's into stuff like that. Okay. And of course other stuff too, but a lot of the death metal at the time, speed metal, death metal, thrash, so Anthrax, things like that. And I was not. Let's just say that I was not. And at the time, ska had got really huge. You guys remember ska? It was like a huge thing at the time. That's when No Doubt was popping, which, I know is not technically a ska band, but you understand, they're popping a lot of ska bands. And where I lived, there was a local band called Itsy Bitsy Spiders, and they were freaking amazing. And they used to play ska. And what I loved was, I don't know if I can do it. Let's do it. They used to play a song. They used to do a cover. Hold on, let me turn this off. Hold on. Don't need delay. Anyways, they used to do a cover since we should do this because Ozzy recently passed. I gotta rework it out. Okay, so they used to do a ska version of Iron Man, and it would sound like this. It would be like, so the ska singer would sing Iron Man, but very ska-like, right? Kind of, and it would be like, wait. And imagine trumpets and a band orchestra, and it'd be like, I am Iron Man, and it was like a ska version of Iron Man. Anyways, Itsy Bitsy Spiders. Ska was big. That's all that matters. So my friend says, hey, do you want to go see L7? If you guys don't know who L7 is, you might want to Google it, but also be prepared for what you're going to be Googled for. It's an extreme band. It's a female band, and it's crazy. And I knew that they this is his taste. Oh, L7. He likes this kind of music. I'm like, okay, cool. And he says, oh, and there's a band called Korn opening for him. I have no idea why to this day I thought this, but I thought, oh, cool. I like ska. I didn't say that. If I would have said that, I wouldn't have had the problem I had. I thought it. I didn't say it. I thought, oh, cool. But it was like inner monologue. And anyways, so I go, okay, let's go. So we go to this bar, and it's just a little bar, and they had a under 18 show, and they had all the tables and chairs gone, which is like, I thought that was okay. And we walked in, and we're standing there, and Korn opens, right? And the singer comes out, and he's playing bagpipes, and I'm thinking, this is a weird bagpipes in a ska band. This is really strange. This is strange, right? And I'm looking at my buddy Brian like, this is strange, right? Oh, El Dunarino, you know how it starts, man. And then all of a sudden he goes, are you ready? And then everyone loses their shit. And I didn't know what was happening. Remember, I knew something was going to happen when L7 later comes on stage. I was not ready. Says Phil was not ready. And they were moshing into me. It was crazy. And I was like, what is going on? And I was like, this is the weirdest. By the way, at this point, I figured out they're not a ska band. So I would say that's probably the first time maybe the only time, but definitely the first time I ever went to a band and not realized what I was going to see, right? And if you've ever had that experience, I don't know if you've ever had an experience like that, where you went to see a band and then the band is not what you thought. And the crowd it was crazy. So, but here's what's funny. By the end of the show, I actually liked Korn. So I was like, oh, I like this band. And then funny enough, I went and saw them again. And then one time, I think it was Ibanez or Ampeg. Somebody gave me backstage passes to Korn. And then here's what's funny about Korn. I went to a meet and greet backstage pass thing with Korn. I was like a VIP. They were like, hey, you want to go hang out with Korn and hang backstage? And I'm like, sure. And they gave me these passes. And what I didn't know, and if you guys have never had this experience, let me tell you how it works. you don't get a seat. So if anyone ever goes, hey, I got you some backstage passes, what they're really saying is, hey, I got you into the show, but you don't have anywhere you can't be anywhere other than on the stage. And so I got there early to hang out with Korn. It was an outdoor event in July in Arizona. It was 100 bazillion degrees. It was so hot. And Korn never came out of their bus until the last second. They literally came out of the bus to start the show because it was so hot. So we stood there on the side of the stage. It wasn't like they ditched us. There wasn't like any promise they were going to hang out with us. It was just, hey, we're going to be backstage and Korn's backstage and you get to hang out with them. The only problem is they really didn't have a backstage. The backstage was 115 degrees. So they stayed in the bus. So I didn't get to meet Korn. So, and then I went and saw him again. I don't know why. I just, for some reason, just kept seeing Korn all the time. And then they were on a mega tour with a bunch of other bands, and I saw them. So I've seen a lot of Korn. I've seen Korn probably 6 times, maybe 7. At least 6. Okay. All right. That's, I think we went off the rails a little bit, but it was kind of funny and good time. Good to really relive my moment of when I thought Korn was a ska band. So... I'll tell you what's funny about age and time and life and being comfortable with yourself. I probably never told anybody that for 5 or 10 years that I thought Korn was a ska. I don't want you to think that at that night I went looked at my buddy Brian and said, "Oh, they're not a ska band." No, I didn't say anything. I was too embarrassed. I pretend the whole time like everything that was happening made total sense to me. I was like, this is what happens. This is the band I thought I was going to see. So, all right. Okay. So let's go. Next. Nope. Somebody asked, have you ever tried Grote guitars before? I have not. I'm planning to buy one from Amazon. Their specs are great, especially fretwork and ball end, fret ends. What do you think? I have not tried them. That would be a model I would check out. I really like doing those. Inexpensive guitars are some of the favorite ones to do the video of, but they take the longest. It's just because usually they have a problem, and if they have a problem, if a guitar has a problem, you have a tech tip, and if you have a tech tip, that adds about 3 hours to the of making the content, not the content's length, obviously. Arnest wants to know, hey, Phil, any more details from your trip to Cort? Love the stories of the culture difference or any other info you may share. Sure. I mean, obviously, it was a whirlwind. It was fast. I think, the question of the day is, well, I'll tell you, just so you know, because the way it works, there's lots of confusion about the Cort factory, and I think we cleared up a lot of it. Some people still would like to know, like what brands are made there. What I can tell you is this. I'll tell you just what I saw. And so I'm not giving specific details, just giving you brands I saw. I saw Fender there. I saw Squier there. I saw EVH there. I saw Sterling Music Man there. I saw Jackson there. I think I saw Charvel there. I'm pretty sure I saw a Charvel there. I saw... What else? Obviously Strandberg, obviously PRS because they were in the SE factory. A lot of Cort guitars. But I think one thing that gets confusing to you guys and was confusing to me is, Ibanez. Ibanez has their own building and then there are multiple buildings. So, the thing that's confusing to some people is like somebody asked me if I saw GNL there and I did not see any GNL guitars there. But keep in mind that doesn't mean anything just because... they make so many guitars that they can make guitars for like 2 weeks, and then that's the supply of guitars for the year for some company, right? They can make guitars. I mean, think about this. Like, think about how, PRS SE is making 500 guitars a day. Think about somebody like that. Let's say somebody sells 2,000 guitars a year. PT Cort can make 2,000 guitars in a couple weeks and then ship them out. And then you could visit that factory 10 times in a year and still never see that brand ever because they were just in and out in a minute. They don't like parcel them out. They fill a container. And this is where it was interesting is the interesting part of this business model is it's an absolute change in the way guitars are sold. The way guitars are predominantly sold in the current market is what they call just-in-time manufacturing, which we've talked about. In other words, you order it and then they build it. This is definitely a different animal. They have to forecast. It's like more like fashion. They have to go, okay, what not only what guitars are people going to buy next quarter or next year or next month, but also what color is going to be how, if you order 50 of the black ones and 50 of the white ones and 50 of the red ones, but the red ones sell out and the white ones don't and the black ones do, now you're stuck with the wrong colors, just like fashion. And there's this constant, and I believe, I have a theory, and it's just a theory on the PRS SEs kind of blowing out guitars at 20% off at the end of the year. I think that eventually stops. I don't think that continues. And I don't even think it has a whole lot to do with the market. Obviously, it has to do with the market. The market softened. But I think PRS knew that. I don't think they walked into 2025 with any kind of delusions that they thought they were going to sell more guitars. Or maybe they are selling more guitars, but not by a huge amount than the previous year. I think that the sell-offs at the end of the year for them is them learning. They're learning, like, we forecasted too many of this wrong color, right? Too much, because if you go and you look at what Sweetwater has in stock, yeah, they have deals, but then there's certain colors missing and certain models missing. So I don't think it's going to be a thing every year. I don't think they're going to blow out guitars at the end of the year. I think they'll finally figure out exactly how many guitars they should be making and what colors, and they'll refine it a little bit better. And then when the market stabilizes a little bit better, then they'll be able to forecast it a little bit better. So, yeah. Any other funny stories about Cortec? No, it was just like I said, it was a whirlwind. I got there, got to the hotel. I don't know if I told you, you get to the hotel and then like there's a dog and like, I don't know if it's sniffing for bombs or weapons, but it goes around your car and smells the car that brings you in. And then you go, and then all your luggage goes through a scanner like the airport, and then you go through a metal detector and then you're in the hotel. So that's how the hotel worked, which was a little odd. I was like, okay, this is a thing. And then every day at the factory was, you got to understand, you saw the size of it. We walked that thing every day. We walked it all day for 2 days. That was a big facility. And it was about 90 degrees and 90% humidity. It was rather warm. So I was rather warm. Yeah, Donald says, makes sense why so many manufacturers won't take color chances, black, white, red again. Yeah, I believe that is absolutely, you're saying it perfectly. I believe that, they try to do shorter runs of something interesting that they know they can sell through, but I don't think they want to be stuck with, like I said, what's missing in all this is, in the fashion industry, first of all, it's a bigger customer market, but also, there's outlet stores, so they can take off all this stuff and they can blow it out on outlets. These guitar manufacturers, they have to do what, we see, which is they'd have to just discount, or the dealers have to take the discount. So it's really crazy. But I think obviously that's the future, is they're going to have to do that. Obviously they'll always do high-end guitars, but high-end guitars are expensive. Everything's expensive. Even now, the fast-made instruments are expensive. Everything's expensive. I don't know how that's going to change or if it's going to change. So, Devin says, hey, the PRS Silver Sky has to be one of their top sellers. I would say it's absolutely one of their top sellers in the US version and the SE version. That's my guess. It's funny is I can't even tell you, because I was obviously there looking around the factory, and you think I could go, hey, this is what they were mostly making, but unfortunately that wouldn't tell me anything if I told you, because when I was there, they were mostly making Herman Lees, obviously because they were gearing up for the Herman Lee launch. So that isn't accurate if I said, oh, they mostly make Herman Lees, because that's not accurate. They just happened to be making Herman Lees the 2 days I was there to hurry up and get those, they were, getting those guitars for October launch. So I'm really curious to see how the Herman Lee did. Let me know in the comments if anyone ended up buying one of the $2,000 Herman Lees. I'm really curious to see how it did. But I don't know. I don't have a sense of it. I can't tell. Okay, next, besides a drink of water. Okay, this one. I don't know what this. David Carpenter says, "Hey Phil, I'm newish to the guitar, and I am now looking to upgrade. In your opinion, what is the best guitar in the market for $1,000? I really appreciate what you do. Thank you. I appreciate that. $1,000 used, man. You know, look, new, you can have anything you want for $1,000. Used, you can definitely have anything you want for $1,000. There is no reason in this current market you can't find exactly what you want for $1,000. When I say exactly, let's not be too crazy about that, right? But like if you told me, hey, I want a Gibson, a Gibson, USA Gibson, $1,000, I think you could achieve it. Would you get the best one? I don't think you'll get the best one. You'll get a good one. You could buy a studio. You could find that. You could buy a Tribute. You could find an SG. You could find something Gibson logoed and get that. You could definitely find a Fender if you wanted a USA Fender. You can find one for $1,000. Hell, I have two in cases in the racks that, you know, because we have guitars that we use. I have $1,000 USA made Fender in mint condition in case. So they exist. Made in Mexico Fenders, absolutely $1,000. You can buy new, used. You got it. You're golden. You want an Ibanez? You can get get a made in Japan Ibanez. You can find pretty much anything you want for $1,000. So I think at that price point, I think that's a sweet spot, even in this market. I think, sometimes all money does is make it easier to get something without working for it, trying to find it. So if you had $2,000 or $3,000 or $10,000, I'm like, sure, you can get whatever you want. And you can just click it online or go and buy it and you're fine. But when somebody says they have $1,000, here's what I can tell you. $1,000 and a couple weeks patience, you'll find your dream guitar. And so you're new to guitar, and the part of your problem is you don't know what that is, but you kind of do. What do you like? What does it look? First go off the aesthetics. That's going to help you a little bit. And then, if you could pick it up and play it, go into stores. Again, $1,000, I'm just trying to tell you, there's no limitations to what you can get. You can get yourself a pure SSE right now for about $600-700 new even, much less used, and they're fantastic instruments. There's just tons and tons and tons of great guitars for $1,000. So there, that's my thoughts. Is this? That's funny. Hold on a second. Is this real? Is this a real question? So I'm going through Amanda's questions, and I'm trying to figure out if it's in the system. It's correct. Okay, let me go backwards. Sorry. Tom Abrams says, "Hey, what's a good alternative to the fret kisser? Need to level one fret." So there's a bunch of them. So there's a one I bought on Reverb, and I've been using it. I like it. I don't like it as much as the fret kisser. I don't know what it is about, sometimes I think a tool sometimes is the first time you use a tool, then you decide that's the tool for you, kind of thought logic, right? What I'm trying to say is, I use the fret kisser first for that, and I just really liked it for that type of tool. But let me show you the tools that you can buy that are going to be easy for you. So I bought this. So this is the spot, level, and crown at the same time diamond file. This is $99.99 and free shipping. So this would be like $100, and where I live, it's like $107 with tax. This would keep you $107. I think that's less than the fret kisser. So if you're thinking about this, I don't like this as much as the fret kisser. I don't know why. I can't explain it yet, but I like it. I will have a video of it, or I already made the video. I just need to publish it. So there's that option. What I will tell you though, is that for years and years and years and years, this is what I used. And I'm now, and before I tell you, I'm checking to see, if they still make them, because that would help. I do have a video, and I can even tell you the video and where they're used. And I don't think they make them anymore. Are you serious? Hold on. They don't make them anymore. Hold on. So I was looking, I have a StewMac. Yeah, they don't make them anymore. So I have a video where I used to use fret levelers. They're in my, I'd go get it, but I have a boot and it'd take me forever at this point. They're in the background of my videos on the wall. they're these sandpaper things that I used to get from StewMac, and I use those forever. In fact, like I said, in one of my videos, I use them. I'll put a link to the video. I can't remember I can go here, content. But I don't see StewMac makes them anymore. And sadly enough, they were really affordable. And that's sad, and I'm sure it's because of the Fret Kisser. The other Music Nomad makes the undersaddle ones, the understring Fret Kissers. Are those cheaper? Let's take a look at the prices here. Hold on. Let's look at the Fret Kisser. So I showed you that one for $99. What is a Fret Kisser? The Fret Kisser is, oh my God, it's $50. Look at that. It's on sale for half off. Dude, get this. Get this. $50. Buy this. I know $50 is a lot of money. I'm not trying to say anything, but dude, $50. Buy this. This is crazy. StewMac will guarantee this thing for life. Buy this thing. $50. They're gonna kill you on the shipping, right? They're gonna charge you like $10, $15 for shipping. But so $65, just buy that. That's freaking great. Because StewMac, I thought I saw StewMac doing a 50% off sale. Use my affiliate link, because I'll make $1 million, but you don't have to. But I'm just saying, I have affiliate link. But StewMac, $50 for the Fret Kisser. It's worth it. I use mine. It's fast. It's easy. It's a good quality tool, and they guarantee their stuff for life. Dude, it's a no-brainer. Whatever I think I was gonna find for you, I thought it was gonna be $30. Okay, it was gonna be these little. You'll see them. They're little sanding paper sticks. I don't know what you call them. One's red and one's green. But no, for $50, get the Fret Kisser. That's really cool. Wow. What else is StewMac blowing out? So obviously, like I said, we know the market's tough right now. They're all trying to make sales. So let's see what StewMac's doing. Hold on a second. Let's take a look. I thought I saw them say they had 50% off on their pedals. Oh, bestsellers. Okay. Let's go to bestsellers and see. Okay, here we go. So, okay, aerosol potentiometer's not on sale. Oh, half off on the front end dress file. I just bought 2 of these. Hey, StewMac, do you price match yourself when you put stuff on sale? You're going to see a video in the next couple days where literally in the video, I show you opening the pack. I just bought 2 of those because I was doing jumbo stainless steel frets, and I knew I was going to burn through one of those almost. 10, but half off. Okay, I'm not kidding. I'm going to order 2 of these right now. I'm going to put them in my cart. Okay, and then save that for after the show. And then what else? Let's see what else. Okay, so that's really cool. I love this thing. Okay, this tools kit. I absolutely love it. I have one right here. Look at that. I keep one. I wore it off though. So I love it. But they used to be $40, and I thought that was expensive now. Now they're 50. Back down to $40. It's still pretty expensive for what it is, but it's a really handy toolkit. What else? Anything else cool? Anybody else see anything else cool? And that's a pretty good deal. 1060 going down to 855. You know, not amazing. The Fret Kisser is the deal, man. That's crazy. Yep, that's these. You can. Oh, that's pretty good at 21. You can still find these better on Amazon. The micro meshes. Under saddles, that's a little bit of a discount. I mean, some of the stuff's just. That's pretty good. That's $30 off for the digital nut slotting gauge. I would take advantage of this. This seems like real sales like this. Seems like a real deal sale. So I would take advantage of any of these, any tools you think about getting and why you can get it. Because what I understand from most of the manufacturers I've been talking to, what's happening is because sales are slow, they're dropping prices to get us to move the needle, to get them, get us to buy stuff. But they all know secretly, and they've all been telling us secretly, that when they get resupplied, the resupplies are going to cost them more, and then they're going to have to raise prices. So that's what they're telling. I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm just telling you what they're all saying. They're all saying that basically these deals will, when we buy up all the deals, apparently, then we're going to get shell shocked with what the prices shoot up to. So I don't know. Okay. So that to get the fret kisser, that's my answer. So this question is, hey, what's your experience with rechargeable 9-volt batteries and guitars? EMG says not to use them, but in another podcast you said use them. Do they work okay with EMG active pickups or acoustic preamps? I don't know why EMG would say not to use a rechargeable battery. Did they explain why they would not use a rechargeable battery? I've been using rechargeable batteries for years and all kinds of things. So I don't know what the logic would be. Maybe there's a reasoning for that. First of all, EMGs are they're really low voltage, so they're not pulling a lot of power. So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. I don't use rechargeable batteries in my bass, active bass, but I've used rechargeable batteries in my guitars with active pickups. So I don't know. I would really curious to see what their reasoning is, but I do it. And I've done it for years. I can tell you what batteries that I stay away from. I don't use alkaline type batteries because they can corrode, and then they gunk up your insides of where your battery compartment is. You're gonna have to wait until Christmas for the fret kisser. I mean, I hope it's there at Christmas. So, Steve says rechargeable batteries have a much different voltage profile as they wear out. Okay, so in theory, then what would happen? I have rechargeable batteries that cause screeching in my Music Man Cutlass. I've never had that problem. I will tell you that yes, it's possible they have a different profile, and therefore the instrument will. Because what happens is as the battery decreases, it kind of does change the sound of the instrument a little bit. So, for example, what do I have in my guitar? Is the 18-volt system, right? No, it's not 18. It's the crazy thing. 18. I have the adapter. Is it 20 volts? It's something crazy. 18 volts. Hold on. 9V adapter. I don't have it. It's not going to come up. Not on this fast search. I'll have to find it. I'll show it next week. I have an adapter in my guitar, and I don't actually have a 9-volt battery in my guitar. Isn't that funny? So, I'll have to show it to you guys. Okay, next. Go back here. I'm going the wrong way. Okay, this one. Nathan says, hey, where to find wiring diagram for your Kiesel Delos Copper Strat? Tried to have my local music store do it by explaining it to them, and they fumbled it. We wrote it out, and then the hope was I was going to just do a video on walking everybody through it, and then that got pushed back because of Cortec. When the Cortec thing happened, as you can imagine, I've been playing catch up. So that's my really horrible way of saying you're going to get it, but not anytime funny. Anytime soon. Anytime funny? Anytime soon. Because of the fact that the Cortec thing really did throw a wrench in everything, as you guys know. So, when they basically came back and said, yes, we will let you come, I was like, oh, okay, I had to go. And then obviously the time it takes to prep for that. And then, of course, I went to Sweetwater and all that stuff. And then so all that stuff that we've been backlogged ever since then, and I don't know when it's going to stop. But I can tell you this, and I'm just going to say this because I can tell if I don't, my wife's going to know that. This year, I have not taken not only a vacation, I've not taken a vacation this year. That's not a big deal. I have not taken a weekend trip this year. I've officially took one day off this year as my birthday. So, and then technically, although my wife's going to frowny face at me, I know it. The day I came back from Cortec and slept for 20 hours straight, that was a day off too, because I slept all day. But because I've been playing catch up all year, I'm just not getting anywhere. In fact, even with my sprained foot, we still had to work on Saturday. So we've been playing catch up this year. So we're hoping that we're going to catch up and then be able to relax. So I'm just telling you that we're not even taking days off. it's been pretty brutal this year for because of all the extra things. As you know, I had to go to in February. I went to California, interviewed Gabe. I went to Sweetwater and interviewed Mike, and I went to Cort, and then there was another trip. And so I just got invited to another factory, and we're working that out as well too. So this factory, I think, will be excited. This is a U.S. factory that no one, I don't think anyone's actually visited before, and if they have, it's not really out there. It's not really well known. Okay, hold on. I feel like I'm just clicking. Here it is. Go back this way. Okay. All right, wrong direction. Okay, this one says, Phil, how about really dead pedals like the Headrush MX? I am stuck with a $400 to $500 step stool. Can I update it at all? I have no idea anything. I don't know anything about the Headrush pedals. I tried a Headrush pedal because the touch screen, and this is a couple years ago, and I loved the interface, but I wasn't finding any sounds that connected with me right away. So, it's just how it goes. It's the same thing. It's like, the Helix stuff. It's really good. But I just connected with the Kemper for some reason. So I have not tried the Quad Cortex really in any kind of lengthy way. So I hear good things. But like I said, now I've kind of found my thing. But I don't know. I don't know much about them. Hans wants to know, who is buying the 2 million guitars made year after year? No, you think there's only 2 million guitars made a year after year? We just showed you a factory that makes 1 million. You think the rest of the world's only making 1 million other guitars? But I understand where you're going. He says, where are all these guitars? Why aren't guitars cheap? Why aren't guitar cheaper? Supply and demand rule. Okay, Hans, let me give you an education you're not going to like. Tens of millions of guitars are made a year. Tens and tens, if not way more. Okay. Like I said, first of all, the largest guitar manufacturer in North America is Godin Guitars. So just let me tell you how it all works. Godin Guitars, which is Simon Patrick, Arts and Luthery, LePatre, Siegel, Norman, they are the largest guitar manufacturer in North America. Okay. Fender, you would think Fender, but we're talking about physically building guitars in North America. Fender has a big factory in California and one in Mexico, and that technically is North America. So those two still aren't as big as the Godin factory. So I'm just give you an idea. So when you think of that factory, then you got Gibson, Heritage, Fender, both in Mexico and the US. In Mexico, you also have Martin, and in Mexico, you also have Taylor. And then you have PRS, and you have Rickenbacker, and you have Taylor and Martin again, and then you have Kiesel, and you have so there's a lot of guitar builders and then 1,000 small builders across the country, just 1,000 of them, with no exaggeration of that. That's just here, okay? We're not even the biggest makers of guitars in North America. We're not. So think about that. I want you to think about that volume. That volume is definitely 1 million guitars. Just that volume. Maybe more, but definitely 1 million guitars. Then you think, again, we're the smallest manufacturer of that, because obviously most of the manufacturing is done in Asia now. India has massive factories as well making guitars. Obviously, China has tons of factories. Vietnam has factories making guitars. Indonesia has factories making guitars. Korea has factories making guitars. Germany has factories making guitars. England has factories making guitars. Italy has factories that make guitars. And I mean, it's an overwhelmingly amount of guitars. Why aren't guitars cheaper? Guitars are so cheap right now, it's ridiculous. They have gone up. So from where they were to where they are, yes, they have gotten expensive. So when you're having an emotional reaction to like, hey, it was $800 and now it's $1,200, that's ridiculous. Sure, it's ridiculous. It's inflation. It's all the things that we know. We don't have to get into this. We already know the money's devalued. The tariffs, everything you think of, everything that's causing the prices to go up, those go up. But to think that guitars are not cheap guitars are rock bottom cheap across all boards. Now, granted, when we talk about a $20,000, Back to the Future guitar from Gibson, yeah, that's not a real guitar. That's memorabilia. Okay, that's not made. No one woke up the day they announced that and thought, "Oh, finally! I've always wanted a $20,000 Back to the Future guitar, and they fulfilled my promise. And now I can play on stage next week and actually have a good sound." So to answer your question, guitars are very inexpensive. If you just do any kind of AI searches, if you want, you will see that if you take all of the Fender guitars from the 50s when they came out, and now if they factored in inflation, they're all more expensive than they are now, all of them. So guitars are pushed down. We're definitely the cheapest, and that's not even taking into account all the crazy inexpensive Amazon, Temu, all the guitars that you can buy for a nickel. Guitars are cheap right now, and I don't want. Look, we're all looking for a good deal because everyone wants to save their money that they work hard for, and you want to get the best for your money, and I think that's nothing wrong with that. But you shouldn't also think that the guitars are outrageous. You can buy. In fact, I did a video. I showed it. I did a video. I did a deep dive of a Sears guitar with an built-in amp case, and I showed you that essentially, think about this. I want you to think about this, okay? With inflation, for what you would buy in 1960 at Sears when you got a Silvertone, with inflation, you can almost buy a Paul Reed Smith SE satin finish custom 24 with a deluxe gig bag for the same price. It's pretty crazy if you think about inflation. When you think of the quality of that guitar versus the quality of the Sears guitar, it's pretty crazy, right? So guitars. Now, who's buying them all? Well, not only is there a huge population on the planet Earth, guitar players are habitual buyers. Let's just call it that. So guitar players tend to have lots of guitars. Very rarely do you see a guitar player with one guitar. It's not very, so they do. Now, are they making too many guitars? Well, they probably are right now because they were making guitars for higher demand, and now there's less. PKD's Ghost says, "What guitars are made in India?" That BC Rich right there is made in India that I'm pointing out. There's a BC Rich Warlock right there. That's a neck-through guitar. It's made in India. So there's tons of guitars. Jackson has some guitars that are also made in India. I believe Chapman Guitars has some guitars made in India now. A lot of guitar manufacturing happening in India. So and not even inexpensive. Think about this. Those BC Richards guitars, those are $1,500 guitars. They're made in India. So, Helen says, "We are loyal to the addiction." It's a nice quote. Thank you. But yes, we are loyal to the addiction. So Hans, yeah, it's one thing I've been told since the day I've been in the guitar industry is like, who's buying all these guitars? I've never had to explain it more than I had to explain it to my own mother. Okay. When I decided that I was going to open a music store, which is crazy because it's something I don't talk about. No one's ever asked me. I always think it's funny. No one ever asked me like, why'd you open a music store? No one asked me on the channel. They always ask me everything else. And, I just got to tell you, from the moment I decided to open a music store to the moment we opened it, it was months. Like I decided this was going to happen. Okay. And there's a long story about that. We won't bore you with that today. What I will tell you though, is that if you've ever had this experience, everybody always talks about my wife. They're like, "What did your wife say?" I'm like, "What did my mother say?" I was working at a Fortune 500, actually a Fortune 100 company, making really good money with one of those 401k Inc. things. I'm just kidding. 401k things. 401. I heard a funny way of saying it. 401ks. I had one of those. I had stock option profit sharing. It was really nice. I bought some nice stuff. I'm not even going to tell you. I bought some nice stuff from my profit sharing. It was a really nice gig, man. My boss liked me. The company liked me. I did really well. I liked it. I liked the job, and I was paid really well. And I had, at that time, also on the side, I was building basses and selling basses and doing well with that. And so I will tell you, it's a weird thing to ever have to explain when you go. First of all, to this day, my mother unfortunately passed away, but to the day she died, she still really didn't understand the difference between a bass and a guitar, which is always funny to me because she'd be like, my son plays guitar. And I'm like, Mom, I play bass now. Anyways, that's not the important part of the story. The important part of the story is I had to tell my mother, I'm like, hey, I'm going to leave my corporate job that, for my 2 children that, and I'm going to open a music store, a guitar store. I'm going to sell guitars. Now, my mother was like, who's going to buy all these guitars? And I remember the first time she ever came in our store and she walked in and she's like, looked at the wall full of guitars. She goes, who's going to buy all these? I don't understand how many. She's like, I don't even know any guitar players. My mother worked for American Airlines. She had thousands of people work with her. And she's like, I don't even know one guitar player there. Well, she knew one. Actually, she knew one. That's it, right? One person. And I told her, I said, I don't know. I think, and this is a true story. I told her this. I go, I don't know. I think like 20 people buy most of the guitars. I said, I don't think I have to sell. I don't think I have to find 1,000 customers. I said, I think it's like, I just have to find 20 people who just keep buying guitars from the store every day, every week. And that's kind of how it works. So a lot of people just keep buying guitars. They're addicted to them. So yeah, weird experience. Like I said, and to answer, in case anyone's curious, did my mom ever change her mind or anything? Yeah, of course. Once she saw that we made money, she was like, oh. And then she told me she never really understood it, how we made money. I think I would have done better if I just told my mom, if I said, hey, I'm going to open a music store as a front to sell drugs to kids. And I bet my mom would be like, that makes sense. She's like, you can make money doing that. But my mom never really could understand. She told me all the time. She's like, I don't understand how you guys make money selling guitars. Who buys them? And I'm like, well, they're addicted. Hey, Phil, after trying the Pure S Clios, which Fishman Fluence pickups do you like the best? Omniforce, Tim Henson, Classic, or Mono? My favorite Fishman pickups are I did the video on them, and I just am spacing the guitar player's name. It's the guitar player from Slipknot. Why can't I think of him? Fishman, I'm gonna say this. Oh, that's funny. I cannot, for the life of me. There we go. Mike Thompson. Thompson. Mike Thompson. Let me show you. So I have reviewed tons of Fishman pickups in detail. I have done tons of, and obviously played the Clio. I've played everybody's Fishmans. These are absolutely my hands down, no questions asked, no exceptions, favorite Fishman pickups. And I am 100% convinced, which when I say convinced, I mean I'm not using facts, I'm using feelings. I am 100% convinced that these are dead copies for an EMG 8185 set. So my but they're my favorite. And I think they're actually better than the EMG 8185 set. I just think they're 8185, but they're just something a little better, and plus they have more options. So if I was going to build a guitar and put Fishmans in it, that's exactly what I'd put in them, and that's from trying all the Fishmans. And I would say, you guys watch my videos. Fishman, you was sending me pickups on the regular. So did I? Oh, somebody says Mick. Did I say Mike Thompson? It's Mick Thompson. So, but anyways, the Mick Thompsons were my favorite set of Fishman pickups for sure. And that's the answer to that question. Let's see. Frisky Dev says, hey, Phil, why are guitars so different in weight? A Gibson Les Paul Standard on Sweetwater was a huge difference in weight from 10 pounds to 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 5 ounces to 9 pounds, 2 ounces. All the same exact model. Yes, guitars can vary almost 3 pounds. Now think about that, 3 entire pounds. First of all, there's a lot of things going on. So first of all, when we talk about guitar weights, the biggest confusion everybody has, and everybody's got a theory, and every time, it doesn't matter, let's just stick with the facts. the guitar can be different weights based on how much moisture is in the guitar and how much sap is in the guitar, which is essentially a form of moisture. This is why they like to kiln dry stuff. It's why they like to roast it. It's why I like to dry it out. What happens is if you go and you watch, this is the benefit of going to so many factories around the world. When I go to factories, every factory except for one, every factory shows you how they dry wood. They put it and they bake it. Essentially, they are doing what you do in the kitchen. They go, hey, we're going to take this piece of wood, we're going to stick it in the oven at a low temperature, and we're going to use heat to dry out the guitar, okay? And that, so essentially pulls the moisture out, and they'll use a vacuum to do that too, because again, heat and pressure. They pull the wood out or the water out of the wood, and essentially that's how they do it. However, I have seen factories like the Framers factory who lets it air dry over years explain that you cannot do it that way, that time is the only way to get the moisture out of the wood, right? And when they say they wait, they don't even keep the wood in a dry facility. Like, it's out in the elements. It's outside. It like rains on it. And I'm like, well, wait, it rained on the wood. Now it makes it re-wet. And they're like, no. It's drying from the inside out over time. It's going to, right? So essentially, when you pick up a guitar and it's, let's say, a pound heavier than the guitar, that 1 pound can just be moisture in the wood. And of course, the guitar has been painted and sealed, and like an M&M's candy, the chocolate's inside, but they've cut, now the chocolate's not going to get it out. It's not going to melt in your hand, right? So the guitar, the moisture is in there. You get the guitar, and that moisture is in that wood and under that finish, and it's never coming out, and your guitar is just heavy for life. I have heard stories, and I've seen it actually, where a guitar that was like 20 years old is technically like 5 or 6 ounces lighter than it was 20 years ago. Because even with being sealed, just over time, the moisture it gets out of there. That's one reason that it does it. The other thing is density, right? So think about it when you see a tree grow, right? And obviously, we're talking about the same wood. So like ash to ash, alder to alder. The fibers can be compressed, right? So it can be more dense. So a tree can be heavier. A piece of wood can be heavier, not even with the moisture, just because it's more dense. It's packed in. Think of it like, again, like I want to use this visualization like a visualization like a sponge, right? Not wet or dry. Just think about how spongy, you push it in, right? It's going to take up smaller area, but it's going to be more dense. And then therefore you could cut a bigger piece of sponge and it'll be more dense, right? So again, that's how it does, how it can be heavier. The other thing that can throw you off is the manufacturers can also change components and you don't not know it. So for instance, one guitar could have a aluminum bridge piece and the other one has a steel or brass one and you don't know it. And you're like, well, it's the same model. But remember, they could be using different parts. They do that. It's not as common, but it is. I've seen it. The other thing happens is sometimes they chamber the bodies. And if they're chambering their bodies, that's, again, not all the same because sometimes they chamber exactly and sometimes they don't chamber exactly. But most of the time when you're experiencing a guitar being a different weight, it's literally just it's either the wood's more dense or it's more dense and it has more moisture. And that's why. And that's why a lot of people like a lighter guitar, not only because it's lighter, but they believe that now all the moisture has been moved out of the guitar. There's a theory that removal of that moisture makes the guitar resonate better, right? It plays better. It feels better. Me personally, I'm like, my logic is simple. Why have a heavier guitar if you don't need it, right? So like, for instance, if I like a guitar and it's 10 pounds and I like it. But if you gave me two guitars and I thought they were the same, and one's 8 pounds and one's 10 pounds, I'm like, well, I'll just take the 8 pound. Why take something that's heavier for no reason? It doesn't have to be. I have experienced, though, heavy guitars do tend to sound better. But that's it. But that's the main reason, moisture. That's the biggest culprit, for sure. Nathan wants to know, hey, Phil, when can I get a Back to Basics 2? So he's commenting, I had a CD called Back to Basics that I made a long time ago. And he's talking about sequel. Then I'd never. Nathan, the answer is going to be never. So hold on a second. Let's try and go through here. We're wrapping up the show now. This is from Alex. He says, hey, this is our last question. He goes, I bought a Strat with a 2020 American, I'm going to say AM Original 50 Ash body, American Original 50s Ash body, and what appears to be a 1991 American Vintage 60s neck. How much does that devalue the instrument, if at all? Okay, let's make sure I understand what's happening. You got a 2020 guitar with an American Original 50s body in ash, but the neck is a 1991, so you have a parts guitar. It heavily devalues the guitar. It doesn't make the guitar value less, but typically speaking, when you put a parts caster together, even if you put it in a premium parts, it's just not going to be as valuable as a completed instrument of any kind. Does that make sense? Yes, a 2020 American Original 50s guitar is worth more than yours, and a American Vintage 60s guitar from 1991 is worth more than yours because if they're complete, right? Think of it this: more original parts, the more the value it has. But again, I don't want you to think that you have something that's value less. First of all, I don't know what you paid for it, so you might have just paid enough to where it's fine. It might be worth more sold back out as parts again. You'd have to do your own research. That is a thing, the way you can fix that. That has happened before. I have seen customers do that where they brought a guitar into us and we were able to identify that it was a parts guitar and they didn't know that. And then in that particular case that I'm thinking of, what happened with that person was one of the recommendations was exactly what I told you. Go research the parts. And in that particular case, one of the parts happened to be worth half of the value he paid for it, just that part. So he ended up being okay. He didn't make any money, but he got out of it all his money and he was fine. Yes, and that's what's tough. Everybody puts a lot of guitars together, especially Fenders. Like, it's very hard. In all the years selling Fenders at the store, we would very rarely come across Fenders that were 100% original. It was funny to us. We had 3 or 4 John Mayer Fender Strats come into the store for trade, and every one of them we would take them apart, and every single one of those 3 or 4 we took in, the original pickups were missing because you couldn't buy them. The Big Dippers, right? Or was it the Little Dippers, whatever they were? You couldn't buy them, so people would take them out. Now, I'm not saying the person was trying to trade it to us was trying to trick us. Could have been, but I think in that case they got tricked themselves. Every time we would take American Fenders, especially American Fenders, on trade. Now, keep in mind, when I say not original parts, I mean just like even if they were upgrades, you get a Strat. It's just weird. It was weird if you think about it. It was very rarely did you ever see like a full original Fender Strat or Tele. It's just they would come in and they were like, even if it was simple as the strap buttons had been replaced. And I know what you're thinking. So what? But it's just weird. It's a very Fender thing. You have to understand, Fender customers are people who mod. By nature, that seems to be the customer demographic, right? I would say, I don't know the numbers, and I don't know if anyone does, but I mean, you can know from your travels as guitar players out there, how many modified Gibsons have you seen versus modified Fenders? I mean, it's night and day, the difference in volume. So most Fenders are not original in some way. The tuning keys have been upgraded to the locking keys. And keep in mind, again, back to what I'm saying, you buy an American Fender Strat, they upgraded to Fender locking keys. You're going to go like, well, that's not a big deal. But what I'm saying is, what I really am saying is this. We once had this discussion 15 years ago about this, going, I wonder what's going to happen in 30 years when almost no Fenders are 100% original. And 100% original ones will probably be valuable because everyone has messed with one. And it used to be that way back when they were real vintage ones, and I think it's 10 times bigger than that now. So, and then Elroy just sent the last question. He just it came in, so I just want to grab it. He said, hold on, I don't know why I can't see your question, buddy. Let me pull it in fresh. Okay, here it is. It is. He says, Mr. McKnight, please talk to us a bit about scales and weight accuracy. A friend shipped a guitar from the U.S. to COL. I don't know where that is. His scale missed at least 4 pounds. Yep. Scales are, here's some advice to everyone. So now that Amazon exists and things are relatively cheap, if you're going to ship guitars, buy yourself a good shipping scale. Get a real scale. Everyone uses the wrong, uses home scales. I told you, it's like no one can weigh anything correctly. It's really funny. So no, a good scale is everything. It's really, really, John says, if your friend's scale missed 4 pounds, it's broken. Yeah. Well, it's funny, Sean, is you're 100% right. And then also there's this oddity that happens. Like I said, I told you it happened to me. So we'll end with this funny thing that happened. It's happened to me many times. The first time it happened to me was funny. A guy sold me a guitar online and he was like, it's like 10 pounds or not 10 pounds. What am I talking about? He's like, it's like 7 pounds. I'm like, oh, cool. 7 pounds, 2 ounces, whatever. I was like, cool. And then I got it. It was like 10 pounds. I was like, what the hell, dude? And he's like, and he goes, well, I don't have a scale. So what I did is I held the guitar, I weighed myself, then I held the guitar, and then I deducted the two, I deducted the difference. And I was like, yeah, that's not how you do it. And yeah, so a lot of people are just cheap and they want to buy shipping scales because they don't think they ship very much. But it's really, if you don't want to buy a shipping scale and if you don't have the space, borrow one. This is the absolute best advice I could ever give anyone. If you don't want to buy good tools or good scales, then try to make friends with people who do and borrow them. This is okay, that's it. We're ending the show. We're going to call it that. We have 2 cool videos coming out for you guys this weekend. I hope you guys enjoyed them. If you haven't seen the Cort Tech factory video, hey, you can check it out if you'd like. It's doing really well, and I want to thank you guys for that. Also want to thank you for the second channel. It is crushing. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, it's called Know Your Gear. It's funny because everybody thinks this channel is called Know Your Gear, but they're wrong. In fact, we called the second channel Know Your Gear because everyone always tells me, even Sweetwater, by the way, go, hey, this is Phil McKnight from the Know Your Gear channel. And I'd go, I don't have a channel called Know Your Gear. I have a channel called Phil McKnight. So we thought, why not have a channel called Know Your Gear? So the second channel has short versions of the podcast and clips, and it also has bonus material like pedals and stuff. It's about to hit, it's coming on the right side of 30,000 subscribers. So check it out. It did 500,000 views this month. You guys killed it. That channel is massively doing 100 times better than we ever predicted. I want to thank you guys for that. So you guys can check that out. And I'm going to go put my foot up and timestamp this thing. And like I said, appreciate everything you guys do for the channel so much. And until the next time, know your gear. If you're learning something or having a good time, don't forget you can subscribe for free and help this channel. Or for $10 a month, you can join me on Patreon for live clinics where you can ask questions every single week.